Hi, everybody, and welcome to Living Well. I'm Brad Hafes, your host, and we're glad that you're here this evening. And I see that there's a few of you that have signed on, and hopefully there'll be more joining us. And if not, more catch it later, it seems like. Don't be afraid to write comments and anything that you want to say or questions you want to ask. I'm able to see those, and I'd be thrilled if you did that. And you can just have at it. I get them a little bit slower than what many of you do, but or it takes just a little bit for me to get them because it has to go through the programming that I use. And I'm just happy to have you guys with me. And so I got two faithful watchers, the two women who keep me straight and going in life. My wife, of course, Donna, and she was with me last week, and we had a number of you that were with us as we talked about parenting when one of you has a mental health issue. And then we have, of course, Maria, who is my administrative assistant and lives in El Salvador. But let me tell you, she may live there, but she keeps me on the straight and narrow. And then we have Rebecca Smith, and glad to have you. I think that's my relative, Rebecca, right? Glad to have you. And anyway, tonight, I want to talk to you about something really practical that many people know, but many people don't do it, especially those of us who have had depression. If you have any little bit of depression or anxiety, many times what happens is we can get into really bad habits with our time. And we don't necessarily do the things that would be really good for us, like getting up and moving and getting some things done and those kinds of things. One of the problems is that depression is your brain really lying to your mind about that you can't do stuff or you can't do this or, difficulties. And so I want to talk not about so much about exercise, although moving around is a very good thing to do for your mental health. Exercise, group activities, those kinds of things are just really good things to do. But in general, I want to tell you first a little story about my my family or my doctor as I found out that I had bipolar disorder, and I went in to see him after I got back from being inpatient treatment. He made me do some really simple. At the time, I thought, oh my gosh, this is just simplistic stuff. And he said that he wanted to get some patterns set down for me that would be there for the rest of my recovery and the rest of my life. And he said they're probably going to be things that you think are too simple or maybe aren't sophisticated enough. But so he started giving them each time we'd meet, he'd add one. And I remember the first one is he just wanted me to go to bed every night at the same time and to turn the TV off in the bedroom at the same time. And he wanted me to just get used to going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time. And he didn't care if I laid there and couldn't sleep. Although we did turn on the Spanish channel, my daughter and I would do that and play it very quietly so it would distract my brain. But, there were these very simple things, and like, I want you to take your medicine at the same time every day. And I want you to be compliant with it, And then the next week it would be another simple thing. Well, then came the big assignment from him, and I'll never forget this because he really made a big deal out of it. And he said, there's a big one coming, and I want you to build up to it, but you got to have all these other things in place." Now, mind you, I was doing nothing other than working at getting better. So, anyway, I went in and I thought, oh boy, this is going to be the big one. He's going to give me the big assignment now, and this is just going to be whatever. And he said, between now and the next time that we meet, I want you to identify three things that you can do as a hobby that will make you happy and joyful and that you'll find fulfillment in. What? Three hobbies. Three hobbies. You know, I had been working and pastoring a fast growing church. I didn't have hobbies. I didn't have time for hobbies. I didn't hardly have time for myself, much less my family. Hobbies? Okay. All right, whatever. Well, I identified three of them, and he wanted me to work at them. He wanted me to just start doing those hobbies and then see which one, if any of the three, would kind of stick. Pardon me. That would just stick to the wall, so to speak, and be the hobby that really was my lifelong, the rest of my life hobby. Well, you have to understand that um, I thought, okay, everybody golfs. I'm going to try golfing. Well, that did not go very well. I would hit the ball, um, oh, nine times more, or have to swing nine times more at each hole than anybody else. And by the third hole, I'd be tired and, I'd quit playing and stuff like that. Well, then he said, so we tried golf, and I did tee off once, and I hit the guy that we were golfing with. Well, I hit a tree, and then the ball came back and hit him in the head, and I felt so bad, and I thought, this is not fun. This is not going to be a hobby at all. Now, the second hobby that I tried, and I enjoyed it, but only one part of it really, and that was I decided I would become really good at making white cake. And I really love white cake, and I think it's something about childhood and weddings. I don't know. But anyway, my aunt was a cake decorator, and she gave me her homemade white cake recipe. Well, I worked on it, and I worked on it for quite a while. And I would bake it and try different things. Interestingly enough, I gained about 40 pounds doing that, but I got it perfected, and then I accidentally made some wedding cakes, and oh, I decided that was way too much work. That was not a hobby. It was not fun. Now, I enjoyed eating the cake. Yes, not a problem. That was fun, but I didn't do so well at just uh, anything else. Yes, Drew, this is still live. We are live. And so you can ask any questions you want. So, anyway, I did the baking and I did that. But one hobby that stuck with me, and I still do it today, and I go through periods where I might not do it for a while, but then I do it every day, and that is painting. I love to do abstract art. And I could do realistic stuff. I suppose I could learn how, but that I just want to paint and express myself through art. And I enjoy creating things, not just art, but other things also. And I cannot tell you, for me, that is like being a little boy who goes out on the playground and plays all afternoon. I just enjoy it. It just takes me away to another place. I stop worrying about the things that are my daily things that I might worry about. I find it really fulfilling when I finish one. And, I really painted my way through the pandemic. My wife will tell you we have paintings all over the place. And I've sold a fair amount of paintings. And no, the painting behind me is not one I painted. In fact, that's a green screen behind me, in case you hadn't figured that out. But anyway, um, I just absolutely love it. Now, my art studio that's up on the third floor of our house is one of our small bedrooms, and I put linoleum down and all that kind of stuff. And sure enough, it just is perfect, right? I love it. It's so important. I want to ask you tonight, do you have a hobby? For me, having a hobby, not just one, but it's good to have several, but at least having one thing that you enjoy doing, to me, that's essential for living well. That's essential to our recovery. That's essential to everything. And no, I suppose a hobby could be playing video games. That could be an escape. But I'm talking about something that uses, numerous parts of our brain and helps us maybe physically, helps us, in many different ways. There's a lot of research out there about why hobbies are important for your mental health. And, so often what happens is we just get to with mental health issues, the depression keeps us from doing things we enjoy, and pretty soon we don't even know what we enjoy, and things that used to make us happy don't make us happy. For me, when I was doing this search for hobbies, it took a while. It took a while for stuff to kick in. But after doing some of the things for a while, I started having fun. And so I would encourage you, especially if you're dealing with depression or anxiety, to find a hobby. Now, if you're in a manic phase, maybe now is not the time to find a hobby because you might go out and buy the entire store, the entire paint store, or the art store, and that wouldn't be good. So, but why is it that hobbies, or why are hobbies, what does science show, what does the research show as to why they are so helpful to our mental health and to our mental health recovery? First of all, they say that hobbies offer an unparalleled level of engagement, and many times with other people, or it may use other parts of our brain, like if it's learning a new language, or it could be possibly something physical when in fact we don't do physical things normally. Um, you know, it can be just that it causes us to relax and to um, wind, or to wind down, or to unwind, and to detox really our thinking and our stinking thinking that gets going around and around and around in our heads. For instance, some hobbies, sports and exercise, those are really good hobbies. I wish I enjoyed that sort of thing. I'm not good at it. And when I'm not good at something, then I really don't enjoy it. There are maybe a few things in a team effort that I don't even know what they might be. But I could tell you, certainly exercise and being on a team. I don't know how many people I know that love to play softball in the summer. And that's so important. And the social interactions that happen when you do something with a group of people is really important. For instance, music can be great, a great hobby. There's one part of having a hobby that one day I'm going to do again, and I used to absolutely love to sing in choir, to sing in a choir, because you're together, you're it just There's social aspects of it, there's the artistic aspects to it, there's the beautiful sound to it, and just the rehearsals and the being together with a group of people that enjoy music would be very therapeutic for me. And one of these days, again, I will sing in a choir because the schedule will permit, time will permit, hopefully. Then, of course, art, especially when you can feel, when you get to use your creativity. Creativity really helps you to think outside the box. Really, anytime you're creating something, you're taking risk. You're seeing if something, I got this idea, let me try that, or let me see if this works. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does, but creativity is really risk taking that, ultimately when it pays off, it's wonderful. Now, another hobby can be reading or journaling, or some people enjoy coloring, the adult color books, gardening, fishing, you know, all kinds of hobbies. Secondly, hobbies reduce our stress because they allow us to do things that take us away from the everyday stressors that we feel. For me, painting and going into my studio, I've read about it, and so I started doing it, that I have certain rituals when I do it. I always play classical music. I put on paint clothes. I don't just pop in and kind of do it different every time. I go in there and it puts me in a different frame of reference or frame of mind. Um, it takes me out of the world I live in um, every day. Yeah, I agree, Maria. Writing is a great hobby. Writing can be wonderful. It can be a fantastic hobby because, especially if you're writing fiction, you can be living in a creative world of creating people and their interactions and the storyline and all that kind of thing. So hobbies reduce our stress. They should take us out of our everyday living and our everyday stressors. Hobbies shouldn't be adding more stress to our lives. Then that's really not a hobby. And sometimes people start hobbies and they become money making things for them, and then suddenly the fun is gone out the window. Not always, but many times. Thirdly, hobbies can improve feelings of anxiety or depression. And just the sense of fulfillment. For instance, for me, when I paint something and somebody else loves it and they want it, that does something for me. It makes me feel like a sense of accomplishment. And so, you know, improving your feelings can make a big difference at lifting your anxiety and lifting your depression. Hobbies can help you rediscover your interests and your strengths. What am I good at? What am I really interested in? And doing that can just boost your confidence. Because mental health issues and challenges really rob us of a lot of confidence and a lot of who we were, especially when we were young, before there was that brokenness or that difficulties or those things that weighed us down. And you go back to thinking more youthful thinking and creativity and the enjoyment of life. So now, one of the things my hobby allows for this in a limited way, but it does allow for it. And some hobbies really allow for it because, like for sports, when you're on a team or whatever, but you can benefit from the power of participation. In my case, I've got some paintings in a gallery. And I've done a few things at that gallery. I go and visit there. I trade out paintings. I meet other artists. And at Christmas time, I went out and hung out with a number of the artists who were there at the studio that night or in the gallery, and people could stop by and meet us. And it was a great participation. And it was a new group of people, different group of people, and people that um, stretched me and grow me, but also people who have they're creative thinkers. So I had a lot in common with them. I kind of felt like these are my people, that kind of thing. And so your social connections go up when you have a hobby. There's a lake here in Omaha where there's a field where people that fly airplanes, I don't know what they're called. Some are gas, some are battery operated, but they fly these, and they have like an airport, a tarmac, and all that. Not a building, and you could sit and watch them. And it's a hobby for them. And some of these guys are like third generation and they're raising their own children to do it. I've sat and watched them, and it's great fun to see and to see people enjoying something like that. Plus, they're out there, they're outside, they're interacting with other people, and when something goes wrong with their plane, somebody else might help them fix it or whatever. And I was talking to one of the guys a day not long ago, and he said, "You really?" I said, "I always wanted to do this with my kid." And he said, "Well, you can do it. You don't have to have a kid to do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, but my kid would have known how to fix it if it broke. I wouldn't know how to do that. I'd probably do well at flying it and wrecking it and then having to fix it, get it fixed or whatever. So that might not be the best hobby for me. But hobbies increase your social connections, and they teach you how to deal with setbacks and challenges in a healthy way, not in a life crippling way, but in a healthy way. And they will improve your sleep. When I have painted during the daytime, I always sleep better at night. And it's interesting. Before I go to bed, I stop in and look at what I did. And then I sit there and I look at it for a while and think, is that finished, or does it need some more, or what could I do to this? Or I don't really like this part of it. Why? What could I do? I also look in there in the morning as though it might have changed overnight. But throughout the day, then I'm thinking about that. It just makes me happy. And it's so powerful to my recovery, and especially if I've been stressed. Like when we went through the pandemic, it was my salvation, if you will, sanity, because I wasn't leaving the house for quite a while, and not often when I did. But it just let me leave the world, and I could enter into this creative spot and live even within the paintings, if you will. So, how many of you that are listening right now have hobbies? I would love to see a text from you and just what some of your hobbies are. Um, it's one of those deals where if you don't have something that you can say, really, tonight, this is my hobby, this is what I enjoy doing, or I know what I enjoy doing, I just don't do it. I want to encourage you to start doing it. If you, for instance, if you're a woman who or well, it could be a guy too. I don't mean to be so sexist, but if you enjoy sewing or creating clothing or drawing or, and you don't have to be good at a hobby. You just have to enjoy it, right? Um, I'd like to think I'm good at my hobby, but even if I'm not, who cares? I'm not doing my hobby for anybody else. Like my wife loves to garden. It's not something I would enjoy, But she loves to grow things, and that's really important for her to do. And a couple of years ago, I bought her for her birthday or Mother's Day, maybe it was both, a thing that allows her to plant by, she can stand up and it's in buckets. Uh, you put the dirt in the buckets, so it's a bucket garden. And yeah, my wife is on tonight, and she said yes, she likes to garden, swim, walking, kayaking, and puzzles. And just recently she joined a gym, and I know that she's enjoying that a lot. And so, yeah, and Perry, who's a friend of mine, he says that he enjoys research. Now you have to know Perry, and the rest of us, like if I had to read research daily, it would, I couldn't do it. I'd be having to go to another type of 12-step program after that. But Perry likes to read research. He just loves that kind of stuff. So that would make perfect sense. Maria says that she likes puzzles, and that's good. And Rebecca says that she likes to color in adult coloring books. I know a number of people who really like that. And, some of those coloring books are really intricate, But yeah, they say, for instance, people with anxiety do well with, and this isn't connected to Rebecca or anything, it just is dawning on me that people who have anxiety, especially, do well to do repetitive things where they have to count, like crocheting or knitting, and that helps people really get outside of the anxiety. And hey, I got a cousin on tonight. Clayton says he likes to golf. Yep, I know that. And crosswords, working out, reading, singing. Yeah. For me, Clayton, if I could sing in a choir again, just a choir, I don't want to sing in a real fancy choir or anything, but to just that being on a sports team musically is about as close as I've ever gotten to playing a sport, but it just is so fun. Like, I've been in plays. That's a great hobby, too. I love that kind of hobby. I could have great fun doing that. I haven't had time to do it or anything like that. Ah, yeah, Rebecca says that the coloring helps her autism. I can see how that would. Yep, I would think anything creative like that helps the autism. Uh, that's great. Yeah, good for you, Rebecca, and really good for you to understand that and know it. Okay, so I've heard some of your hobbies. Some of you that are going to watch this later, or maybe you're even on now with us and haven't said what your hobby is because you don't necessarily have one, and maybe you feel like you don't have time to have one. Let me tell you something. The truth is, I think you don't have time not to have one. To not have one is to not be enjoying life in many respects. Life is not all about work and, um, you know, work and taking care of the kids and work and running around and being busy all the time. Sometimes you got to slow down and do the hobby, and enjoy doing the hobby. So, anyway, next week, Sam will be here. I'm going to be on a trip with my family, and our granddaughter is going to be dancing in some national competition in South Carolina. So we're going to be down there and uh, enjoying all three of our four grandchildren. And then when we get back on the 4th of July, our son and his family are coming to see us, and their son will be spending some time with us. I might even have to have him on with me some Thursday night. He's a trip, and he's something else. Anyway, listen, living well requires that you have to have enjoyment in life. Living well means that we can't just only constantly be thinking about how difficult maybe our mental health situation is or whatever. But it means that we got to kind of pull ourselves out of the muck and mire and do something fun. Something fun that's healthy for us and takes us to another spot of contentment and creativity, as well as exercise and social interactions and all of those kinds of things. And who knows? Maybe you don't paint, but you think, well, I'd enjoy the artwork. Well, go to one of those things where it's food and a glass of wine and you paint. You know, the social interactions, just that in and of itself. And so, anyway, find a hobby, do the hobby, find a way to make the time, and very much, and it's so important. And yes, Maria, thank you. I will have a good time in South Carolina. I will enjoy watching my granddaughter dance, and I'm looking forward to getting to know Charleston. Is it? I don't. Quite honestly, I don't know what town we'll be in, but we'll be in South Carolina. All right? Well, God bless you guys and live well. Um, Living well in spite of a mental health challenge is a good, really good thing. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Sam will be here next week, and then I'll be here again in 2 weeks.